More responsiveness, better quality, that clicky sound, those are just a few of the reasons you might want to switch to a mechanical keyboard. Now, a lot of you are using rubber dome keyboards, and those are perfectly fine. I mean, I think we overstate it that when we say that everyone needs a mechanical keyboard. Mechanical keyboards are fantastic. I love the lower actuation points. I love how smooth they use. I even like the clicky sound. But rubber dome keyboards are perfectly fine. They just get a little bit mushy over time, and you have to push the key all the way down in order for it to register. If you're searching for a mechanical keyboard, then you have a lot to learn about, because within mechanical keyboards, there are all types of switches. I mean, there's red, there's brown, there's black, there's white, there's amethyst. Well, maybe not amethyst, but there's a ton of different switches. So if you're looking for a mechanical keyboard, then let's talk about the differences that each one of these have. The first thing we need to learn about is force and sound, and the best way to do that is to use a switch matrix that Ripster put out a few years ago. Ripster is famous in the mechanical keyboard world. If you guys want to become enthusiasts, go to Reddit and type in Ripster's name, and you can learn all kinds of stuff about mechanical keyboards. As you can see in his switch matrix, brown and red cherry switches have about 45 grams of actuation, while blue has 50, and black cherries have 60 grams, and black Alps have 70 grams. Now, depending on your play style, you probably don't want, for the most part, people don't want a heavier actuation. And as you can see, in terms of sound and actuation don't really have a lot to do with each other, as the blue cherries, which you see on keyboards like Razer's Black Widow is famous for that, have a lot of sound, while the brown and reds, which have a similar actuation, do not. So then which switch is the most popular? Which do most people use? I'm going to pull up a graph here that you guys can see from overclock.net, and I'll list this link in the description area below so you can go visit it yourself, because this also includes a guide that shows that MX Blue is number one with 32.6%, MX Brown at 27.9%, and MX Red at 17.7%. They're very, very different switches, and I think these numbers are a little bit skewed by Razer's Black Widow being so popular for so many years. If you're new to the mechanical keyboard world, stick with me. Hopefully I can explain things in a way that's easy to understand, but there's a little bit to learn. Now, the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the differences between these switches. Now, we're going to go over Cherry MX switches, as those are the most popular type, but there's a few other switches to learn about as well. Now, all of the Cherry MX switches have a travel distance of 4 millimeters to bottom and 2 millimeters to actuation, and this is what makes mechanical keyboards so desirable, because you don't actually have to push down on the key all the way in order for it to actuate. First, let's talk about a relatively popular switch in the Cherry MX Black. I'm just going to be basic on all of my definitions of this. If you want to learn more about this, there's more to know, and you can ask me in the comment section below. But basically, the thing to know about Black is that it just takes a lot to press down. It's not super clicky, but it has a heavy actuation point. And this is a good or a bad thing. After hours and hours and hours, if you're not used to typing on something heavy, you might get a little bit fatigued in the typing area having something like this. On the other hand, if mistyping or accidental key presses are a big issue to you, then a switch like the Cherry MX Black is desirable. Now on to the Cherry MX Brown switches, which I think are becoming the most popular switches on the market, and for good reason. It's my switch of choice, and the reason is because of the low actuation force, the fact that it's not super clicky. You get a little bit more than the reds, but it's not super clicky, so when I'm typing or gaming or there's people around me, it doesn't really bug them. And so I like that, as well as the fact that it's tactile and you get a small bump to know when the switch has actuated. For that reason, this is my switch of choice. Okay, another tactile switch is the Cherry MX Blue, probably the most widely used because of the Razer Black Widow Ultimate. And that's this very super clicky type keyboard that some people really, really, really like. They like that extra feedback that they can get from it. It also doesn't take too much of an actuation force at like 50 grams. And the only real disadvantage of it is that the release point of it lies above the actuation point, which can make double tapping, just double clicking, just a little bit difficult. But for the most part, those who have used blue switches in the past, returned to them, and still really like them. On to the MX Reds. The red is really going to be your switch if you want something with really light actuation that doesn't have a ton of sound and isn't tactile. By that I mean, when you get to that tactile bump, the force that's required to go all the way to the bottom is the same. And so a lot of people like reds because it's so easy for the key to register, and it makes it super easy to double click. A lot of FPSers really like the Cherry MX Red. As an FPSer myself, I still like the brown, but I do have a lot of friends that use the red. Now I'm going to talk about my favorite picks for mechanical keyboards. And what I want you guys to do is to go to my website and vote for your favorite so we can get a good idea. But keep in mind that any keyboard that uses Cherry MX switches already has a lot of the same parts. I mean, yeah, there's differences. Some are going to have a volume wheel. Some are going to have programmable keys. There's going to be some differences between these. Some are going to be 10 keyless, which a lot of people like to use because you can kind of control the keyboard a little bit more. But, for all intents and purposes, you're getting the same switch. If you have a blue switch made by Razer or a blue switch made by Corsair, I might just go with whichever one is cheapest in a lot of the situations. In other words, these picks, while they're important for features and things like that, aren't the end all to what you guys should go with. If you find a good sale, then maybe you go with that. But overall, my number one pick is the Razer Black Widow Chroma. You can completely customize the LEDs on this. It's a blue MX switch keyboard, very clicky. This is the one that you don't want if you're in an office, but again, probably the most widely used keyboard and the one that always wins our poll. But don't feel like you have to vote for it just because it's that. It's certainly not my favorite because the next keyboard on my list is my favorite, the Corsair Gaming K70 RGB. There's also a K95 version that has a ton of, I think it's like 18 programmable keys on the side, but I don't like to have those programmable keys on the side because I mistype with it. So I just prefer the K70 mechanical keyboard, and it's really nice now that it comes in the RGB and you can program any backlight. But you know what, if you can get just a standard K70 version that comes in like the blue blacklight for less money, then you know what, unless backlighting color is super important to you, you might be able to save some money that way. Okay, now on to some other really popular choices within the mechanical keyboard world, and comes highly recommended from a lot of people who know what they're talking about. The Ducky Shine 1 and 2 keyboards like the DOS keyboard, which come in a variety of switches. You can also go for something like the SteelSeries 6G V2, which is an inexpensive kind of keyboard, a budget keyboard that doesn't have like a lot of frills and features, but you know what it is? It's a mechanical keyboard, so that's what makes it desirable. The next keyboard on the list is one that I'd like to own myself. It's the Logitech G710 Plus. It has a few programmable keys, G keys on the side. It's that Logitech brand, and it's Logitech's normal version of a mechanical keyboard. I'll talk about another version they have in just a second, but this has MX Brown switches, and if you can get it for a good deal at around $100 or whatever, then I might even recommend this over the Corsair K70. Okay, the next keyboard on our list I put there because some people are going to love this keyboard because of the look, and some people are going to hate it. It reminds me a lot of like the Mad Catz gaming mice that you can really adjust a lot and change a lot, but some people just absolutely hate them. The Levitron, you can remove the 10 key from the side, which is really, really cool. I like that. And you have programmable keys on the side and above. And it has this kind of mech look, which may fit into some people's design, and some people may hate it. It has cherry black keys, so keep in mind it's going to have a heavier actuation. Another controversial keyboard that deserves a place on this list is the Logitech G910 Orion Spark RGB. Now, this keyboard does not use Cherry MX keys. It uses Romer G mechanical switches, a relatively new option from Omron. And this is a departure from every manufacturer pretty much using those Germany company Cherry keys. They feature a 70 million keystroke lifespan. They require just 40 grams of force and actuate after 1.5 millimeter of travel compared to Cherry MX's 2 millimeters. This is very comparable to Cherry's MX Red switches, but requires a little bit less actuation overall. Very cool and very glad that it's here. But the only kind of weird thing with this keyboard is that Logitech did some weird things with the keycaps. It has tilted keycaps, which can be off-putting for some because it can cause you to mistype. But on the other hand, some people like it because it really grabs your fingers. And if you're gaming with just a few keys, it can kind of keep them in the right position. You'll either love it or you'll hate it. Another cool thing about the G910 Orion Spark is that it has a docking station for your phone, which will act as that LED display to give you all kinds of cool information about your computer, about your battle stats, stuff like that. It comes with an app for your phone, so you can use that with that. So that's going to be very desirable for some people. I just wish they had kept the keycaps level, but again, that may be a good thing to some of you as well. All right, that's all I want to mention about mechanical keyboards right now. Yeah, there's a lot of other good options, and I'm sure there'll be good options in the future, but hopefully that gives you a good idea if you're in the market of some of the better mechanical keyboards that are out there. If you have any questions for me, you can use the comment section below here. Also, incoming news here. We're starting a forum at forum.top10gamer.com. You might be one of the very, very first people to join. And I'm going to be going there and answering questions regularly, but it's brand new, so don't expect like a huge community right away, but that's what we're trying to build here, trying to build a community as the channel grows. Speaking of growth, if you want to help the channel grow, you can do one of three things. You can comment below, that helps. You can press that like button, and you can subscribe. All of those things help this video to get more visibility. Hope you guys liked it, and we'll see you next time.